Now, here are my predictions. I definitely believe he will be found guilty when it comes to the transportation of workers. I don't see how you can give him a not guilty there. If that's his only guilty, then he may get time served, he may get probation, but it can give him up to 10 years in prison. But I don't see this judge giving him 10 years. This judge seems kind of in the middle, but definitely a guilty on that. When it comes to ST, that would be hard because it really just depends on the mentality of this jury. Like I said, I feel it's a slam dunk just because of that hotel video, and the prosecution made it clear she only had to say no once. If the jury believes that, then it's an absolutely guilty when it comes to Cassie on the trafficking. Guilty. So I will put that in a universe, guilty for that. And that is, I believe, a minimum of 15 years. Now, when it comes to Jane, honestly, I believe that will be a hung. Because even me, I'm not quite sure Jane was trafficked. However, again, if I'm following what the prosecution said, and we will see what the judge's instructions are for the jury, but if I'm following what the prosecution said, then he likely should have a guilty there as well. But I honestly think that that will be hung for Jane when it comes to the trafficking. Now, I will say that if it's a guilty on Jane Doe, it definitely should be a guilty on Cassie. And if it's a not guilty on Cassie, it's definitely going to be a not guilty for Jane Doe. In other words, I think Jane Doe is the weakest case. But having said that, let me get back to my prediction. When it comes to the RICO, they're going to hammer it out they're going to debate about whether the enterprise was involved. To me, it's clear. I will say guilty on RICO because they for sure will see some predicate acts. For sure. Because like I said, you already have transportation, and the distribution of illegal substances is quite heavy when it comes to Diddy. So, I mean, just those two alone. You could not agree about the trafficking. So just those two alone, and the bribery should get him a guilty on the RICO. But again, the question becomes whether you believe his enterprise was involved with that, and that may hang them up. But I will lean towards guilty. So, in summary, guilty for transportation of workers, guilty for the trafficking of Cassie, hung jury for Jane Doe trafficking, guilty for RICO. That is my prediction. Be sure to share your predictions below. Peace.